Rhodri.
Is there anything that Lionel Messi is better than you at? It's opinions. I respect your opinions. Maybe in your opinion Messi is better than me, but in my mind I'm better than him.
I do it again. Add it up, bankroll, euro, peso, add it up. I'm just doing me, everything is on me. Oh, you matter what? Add it up, bankroll, euro, peso, add it up. I'm just doing me, everything is on me. Oh, you matter what? Told her if it's all me, everything is on me. Gon' back it up. Matter what? Told you I'ma do me. Why you hating on me? It's not adding up. I do roll like a Mack truck. Country heart, I might cop a farm and go add up. Like scars, I was cold hearted, now I'm back up. Keep it real, I do this once a month. I don't rap much. I just hit the money and go stack up. Only buy cards and get tatted up. All that other bull, it don't matter much. You only climb me, I put the ladders up. No fault, I done doubled up on the workload. I think I fell in love with the bankroll. Pray up, get money, then we lay low. Add it up, bankroll, euro, peso, add it up. I'm just doing me, everything is on me. Oh, you matter what? Add it up,
Yes, guys, I'm Si. Welcome to A.C.E Podcast Nation, the home of Rhodri Giggs and football. Let me know if everything's all right sound-wise and stuff, just because my computer's been a bit funny. So just let me know in the comments and stuff like that. Rhodri will be over in a minute. He's eating his tea. He's been a busy man. He's been coaching this evening, so he's a bit rushed. That's why we're a bit late. But in the meantime, we'll just do some bits and pieces, some housekeeping. We'll talk a bit of championship and what not. So with the Super 6 Prediction League, which we all know and love, let me tell you what we have got so far this week. Let's have a look. So if you don't know, we're raising money for charity alongside Will Melush, and we're doing a Super 6 Prediction League. Features lots of ex-footballers, ex-Cardiff legends, Jeff Stelling, myself, Rhodri, a few others, Andy Campbell, all the boys, and raising a good old chunk of change for charity. But Lyndon Irison came out on top of the table this week with 18 points, but we are now into the business end of the season. We've only got 4 rounds to go before we crown our new champion and dish out the prize money. Myself and Rhodri, we're not in the title race, but I do have a 26-point lead in our personal battle, so I do think that's probably game over unless he has a remarkable week and I forget. But the next round is Saturday, 3 o'clock. Don't forget, we'll do our predictions towards the end of the show. If you've got any questions and stuff like that, then please do join us. And join us. Let us know your predictions and such. Also spread the word, share the show, stuff like that, because we're on at a slightly different time, a bit later today. And also, of course, we've been on Friday the last couple of weeks because of the Europa League and stuff like that, and Rhodri's coaching and whatnot. So we're still trying to work on what's the best times and stuff like that. Welcome, Mr. Boyle. How are you? And yeah, if you're watching on Twitter, I can see a few of you and whatnot, YouTube, just get involved in the comments, ask some questions. Like I say, Rodders will be back, or in, should I say, in a minute or two, and we'll talk. We'll probably focus mainly on the Premier League, but we will talk Championship, definitely. I want to talk a bit of Championship as we go. There's a game going on at the moment, Huddersfield Town versus Sheffield United, which Huddersfield are winning, which is quite an interesting little development. Obviously, Sheffield United already up, and Huddersfield safe. So, from what I can gather, the relegation's decided in the Championship. Wigan, even though they'd found a bit of form, it was too little, too late. They're down. Blackpool down, and Reading down. The mighty Bluebirds survive. Rotherham survive. QPR, who did their best to get involved in the relegation battle and race, they obviously felt left out. But yeah, they did real good. Championship's been such a weird season. The top two is obviously decided. The playoffs is looking really interesting because I think Coventry, where they were, like to be in the playoffs is remarkable. What a season they've had. They were rooted to the bottom of the league with all the problems they were having with regards to the ground and stuff like that. They were rooted to the bottom for a long time. And all of a sudden, well, not all of a sudden, but gradually worked their way up. Tremendous form. And they sit pretty at fifth. And looking at the form, I'd say them and Sunderland. I think I just fancy Sunderland. They seem like the team who's going to make that late drive for it. I fancy Sunderland to nip over Millwall. If I had to pick, I would say Luton, Middlesbrough, Coventry, and Sunderland would probably be my four. But West Brom are most definitely not out of it. But they've got a loss in them. West Brom have definitely got a loss in them. Let's have a look at the fixtures over the next couple of days, or the weekend, should we say. Let's have a look. So we have West Brom versus the Jacks, Swansea City away. That's a tough game for West Brom. But again, Swansea got a loss in them, definitely. Preston host Sunderland. So Preston have been a funny one this year. Really funny. I thought they were going to definitely be involved in the playoffs at one point, and they just faded away. Their form, they've had 1 point from the last four. Poor. Swansea, yeah, they just did. They're too little too late for them, I think. Unfortunately, if you're one of them. Same for Blackburn's faded. They look so solid again. And I mean, this has been the story for Blackburn over the last couple of seasons. Being right up there in the playoffs, looking good. And they just fade away badly. So it's between Sunderland and West Brom and Millwall. West Brom host Swansea, tough game. At Swansea, tough game. Sunderland travel to Preston, which on the form you'd think Sunderland should win, but Preston, nothing to play for, could really, they could do something a bit because you're just relaxed, you play your football, and it is what it is. We got Millwall versus Blackburn, which, look, that could have been like a remarkably tight game if Blackburn had picked up a win earlier this week. I mean, they can technically still do it. So, look, Blackburn, I apologise. I left Blackburn out. Form-wise, I think they've really faded, but they are mathematically, if they beat Millwall, they go ahead of Millwall. The goal difference is going to do them, though, because if Sunderland, West Brom and Blackburn all win, then it looks, at the moment at least, as if Sunderland would go through on the goal difference, obviously depending on scores and things like that. So we'll have to see. But my pick, Sunderland, I think, although, look, Blackburn have been there all season, and I think it would be a bit of a bottle job if they don't make the playoffs. I've got to say, out of the playoffs in terms of who I think is going to win it, Luton Town is my pick. I think they've been there, done it the last couple of seasons. But you can't write off Middlesbrough. Michael Carrick's done a tremendous job. But 2 losses on the bounce is not form you want to take into the playoffs at all. And I'm sure people like Leslie and Andy and people will be able to tell me more about the performances. But I mean, they lost to a 10-man Rotherham. And I know, Rotherham were battling for survival at that point. But I mean, it's a poor result away at Rotherham. The Luton game was the big one. I think that is not the type of form you want to take into the playoffs. Could be in for that. Any exciting news I can give you, Rob Boyle asks. So I've got a new series of My Story coming soon with some interesting characters. Mr. Andy Leggs coming back for part 2. I haven't filmed that one yet, but I have filmed an episode with Terry Phillips, journalist who tells a lot of amazing stories. There's one in particular about Brian Clough, which is just awesome. It's a really enjoyable episode, actually. It talks about, his time at Cardiff, Dave Jones, Malky Mackay, the rebrand and things like that. It's lots of different things. Terry Phillips, who else is on there? Bare knuckle boxer, number one contender, James Lilly's on there. Hoping to get Mehmet Dalman on again once the season's over. Obviously, we'll have to wait and see with that one. But he's pretty good. And hopefully we'll get Mr. Campbell on soon as well. But in the meantime, let's welcome the second place man, Mr. Rhodri Giggs. How are you, my friend? You good?
Yeah. What's happening?
So good. So good. Just watching the first half of that Brighton United game, mate. End-to-end stuff. Both teams look excellent going forward, but they both look quite nervy at the back. Quite surprised it's 0-0 because a few big chances for both sides. But there we go.
Good save, so.
Yes, good game to watch, mate. Really exciting. Napoli are on course to clinch the title after they equalised at Udinese just now, so that's pretty good. That's going to be an interesting. What do you think of Jude Bellingham, mate? Looks like he's pretty much nailed on to go to Real Madrid. I think that's a good move for him. I do.
Yeah, very good move because he could, like I said, he could go there for 10 years.
Still
at 28, 29.
That's mental, mate, isn't it? How young he is still. But if you look, I tell you what, mate, Real Madrid are building what a side for the future. Like him and Camavinga and Valverde in midfield. Obviously, they've got Modric and a couple of others now who are sort of coming to the back end of their careers, who people like Bellingham and you know, we said last week, Camavinga's won everything already and he's 20. But I mean, in terms of learning off people, there's not many better than Modric, and you know the same for Bellingham. But yeah, Madrid I think are building something special, but also they're doing it different to what they did years ago. Obviously, years ago they'd be buying like your Mbappe's, you know, the ready-made superstars, but they seem to be buying the young superstars now. You know, the Camavinga, that other guy who I cannot pronounce his name. He's 22, so he. Chouamini, I think it's Aurelian Chouamini, I think it is, but I don't know. You probably pronounced that wrong. But I mean, he signed from Rennes, 22, mate, from Monaco. Sorry, 22. They're building something really, really clever, mate. In my opinion, really clever.
Yeah, looks that way, doesn't it?
Yeah. Jude Bellingham's brothers were playing a bit of first team football this year as well. So it's very interesting stuff, mate. Can I don't think I asked you this last week before we kind of look at the football generally. I wanted to ask you what you think about if Jim Ratcliffe gets that United sale, but he keeps the Glazers on as a minority stake.
That's not good.
It's a bad start, mate, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not good.
Even though they won't have a say technically, I think just them being around still getting paid is a bad look, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not good. Anyway.
To me, it feels like if it's Ratcliffe, they're loading more debt onto the football club, even though it's going through Ineos. And then if it goes with the Qatari bid, it's like it seems debt free, and obviously they got money and they want to do this and that. It's madness, mate. It seems
absolute cash.
Yeah, but it's just the problem is, mate. It's taking so long that it's going to affect transfers, isn't it? Because
it's affecting my shares as well,
and that's the main thing, obviously.
Yeah,
you want to get paid, bro. So I saw Arsenal played Tuesday, didn't they? Very, very good performance in response to how they've played recently. We'll talk about Chelsea in just a minute because, oh my days, they are a shambles. But let's talk about Arsenal. They've been under pressure. Do you think the fact that everyone's written them out of the title race now has kind of released them a little bit, meaning that they can now go back to playing the football they were playing previously?
No, it was going to turn eventually. They've still been playing well, and Chelsea are awful. Home game, night match. Always helps when you get an early goal. And then when you get another one, then you get another one. So that helps. But yeah, no, it's maybe they've never been in this situation before. So some of them not experienced it for the first time.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's all good. It's all good. No experience from, but it was a good win. It was a good win.
They need a bit of depth, don't they? They need a bit of like you look at the players Man City can play when they're real tight. They had De Bruyne out again, and the players they bring in, they're of similar quality at least. And I think Arsenal have got to work on the depth of their squads because they've missed the lad at the back. Unfortunately for them, Partey's gone off the boil at the wrong time. Unfortunately, I think Xhaka has benefited from having, Odegaard and Partey alongside him, so he seems to be showing that he can play football a bit more. But I do think Saka and Partey in particular have kind of gone off the boil a little bit compared to their earlier form. But you would also expect that with players who are 21, 22, you're going to get a bit of inconsistency. So the fact that they've been as consistent as they have been is probably a shout to how good a season they've had.
Yeah, exactly. And City, I was looking last night, City have got some tough games as well. Last 3 games are not easy. They got Brighton away, Chelsea away. Well, Chelsea's probably a shoo-in, but Brighton away, Chelsea away, and I think it's Brentford. I'm not sure. I might be Bournemouth. It's Brentford. I'm not sure. But, what the big ones this weekend, in it for Arsenal. If they beat Newcastle, then it still really is on. If they get beat, then
yeah. And I think look, Newcastle are flying. They're scoring goals. That's making to be an exciting game, similar to the game.
It's a good game, that. It's a good game because if you can see City maybe losing 1, maybe the 2, no chance.
No. Let's talk about Chelsea, mate. Right? Because at the time, I feel like, well, first of all, I feel like Frank Lampard, he goes under the radar of like his managerial records at Everton. Chelsea now, he hasn't won a game since he's taken over. I think it's 5 on the bounce. And his job at Chelsea before that went like wholly under the radar while Solskjaer finished 2nd and 3rd in his first seasons. It was almost viewed as like luck. And with hindsight, do we have to give Solskjaer credit for the job he did, but also ask the question, how the hell has Frank Lampard got the Chelsea job again? I don't understand the logic to it, because it's not like he did a great job first time round or he went and killed it at Everton.
Well, it's quite clear that you have to have good people around you, i.e. Kieran McKenna, top of the league. Michael Carrick in the playoffs had to finish taking over the 2nd or 3rd from bottom.
Yeah.
So you have to have good people around you, which Solskjaer clearly did. And maybe Lampard hasn't, and Gerrard hasn't. Gerrard did, but he left, took a manager's job at QPR, but now he's at Rangers. And when he left, it kind of dipped a bit. So you've got to have good people around you as well.
I mean, you only have to look at Fergie.
When you're inexperienced, yes, you've got a wealth of experience as a player, but it's totally different. This is why I think Steven Gerrard went about it the right way. He was at Liverpool for a bit, dealing with the kids, and then he went into a big job, which is a Rangers job, which is probably too big, but he did very, very, very well. And then he's obviously got the Villa job off the back of that, and then not done so great. And then a good manager's come in and seen what a good manager can do with what Emery's done there. So, and Lampard, it's just some of them players, mate. Sterling, oh my God, doesn't look interested.
Don't look like he cares. So unorganised, mate, as well.
Silva, he's a good player, Thiago Silva. He's 37, 38 or something. Asper, well, that's what his name is. He's getting on a bit now. No, spent 600 million quid this summer. What is they spent it on?
Well, this is the thing, isn't it? They've got so many new players. There's no way on earth that those players can gel in one season. But also, they've had 4 managers, technically, because they've had a couple of caretakers as well. So, like, there's that basis of 4 managers in a season, plus 16 million players being signed and loaned. You cannot, no manager in the world is going to be capable of putting that together. And if you take out Thomas Tuchel's run at the start of the season, they'd be in relegation battle, mate. They're only just out of the relegation battle, really.
They're on 39 points, aren't they?
So yeah, they haven't even got that magical 40 yet. I mean, look, there's 4 games left, and I think who's bottom? Southampton. Even if they won all 4 games, they'd be behind them. But the point being is that it's shambolic, and to me, it almost feels like the what's his name, Todd Bowley. You feel like he's going to be in charge one of these days. He's going to sack Lampard halfway through the game, and he'll be taking over the team talk, mate. It's, I couldn't believe how terrible they were. Like, you can't tell me that Lampard's doing a good job. Like, the basic, and look, the players have got to take the criticism as well. They've got experienced players like the players you mentioned, Thiago Silva, Asqua Paletta at the back. You've got Sterling. They're veteran footballers who've been there, done it, and won things. So if they cannot organise a team, just organise a team to defend, they've got to take a bit of responsibility for that as well. But let's not forget, Sky Sports had Eric Ten Hag in a one. Carragher and Neville were grilling him after 2 games or 3 games in an interview on Sky Sports, being really asking tough, being quite rude in some ways. Yeah, Frank Lampard, he sails under the radar. You won't hear anybody criticise him. And I know I've been quite vocal about pundits this year and how they refuse to criticise Maguire, or they refuse to criticise Lampard and stuff. But it's there for the world to see.
It's kicking around when it's down. It's not really down to him. He's in a no-win situation. So,
but it's their job, mate, to talk about football.
Poor choice to take the job. But
okay.
Yeah, when you get offered it, it's easy for me to say it, but when you get offered a job like that to come in, you could turn it around and then you could end up back in the job. So that's probably his mindset, but obviously it's gone the other way.
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily blame him for taking the job, but what I just cannot understand how he seems to go under the radar, how bad it's been. They are not far off a relegation battle. They're probably just about to be safe, but they're not that far. And you think about, like you mentioned, how much money they've spent, the players they've got, the players they already had as well. It's unbelievable, mate. It really is shocking.
Would you take Lukaku back?
But I mean, it's not going to make him any worse.
Still their player.
Not going to make him any worse. What's it? I mean,
Yang. Oh, shocking.
I mean, it's shocking they signed him anyway. Let's be honest, but it's
really on £400,000 a week. Yeah. 400,000. He didn't even break a sweat last night. It's embarrassing.
Yes,
going back home.
Talk to me about obviously Man City are just a machine, aren't they? It's just game after game after game, just winning, and they just play this great football. But talk to me a bit about Erling Haaland, mate. Broken the records, and look, he looks like he could go on for years. Obviously injury dependent. He could end up breaking all the records, but he's a special player, isn't he?
Yeah, he just seems a freak, and he just seems quicker than everyone else, stronger than everyone else. Got that killer instinct in the box, but he's some player. I mean, you got good players around him as well.
Yeah, when they're bringing that, who's that one they bring that they? Who's the backup striker they bring on all the time when he's unbelievable as well, man.
Yeah.
And like the way they played last night was superb. And De Bruyne hasn't played since the Arsenal game, and they're still just churning out these, 2-3-0 wins. It's really interesting what they do in the summer, because you look at it on paper and you think, well, what do they need? But I do think there'll be probably a couple of players who will leave. There's been rumors about Gundogan and a few others. They always refresh it, mate, don't they? So it's kind of like what
quality goes out, quality comes in. It just takes a little bit time to adjust. But once we get rolling, we've seen it.
And this is the thing, isn't it? Like, people forget it took City a few years to get it right, didn't it? He got rid of Joe Hart, similar position to what United are in with De Gea now, whereby he's good goalkeeper, but he's not what the manager really wants to play the way he wants. But is it a priority for United? They haven't got the money which City had. I mean, people forget Pep brought in Claudio Bravo and he binned him off after a season because he wasn't doing it. Like, he's been quite ruthless at certain points, but it took him a few years to really nail down who they wanted and what they wanted. But unfortunately, I guess it depends how you look at it, because they've got a bottomless pit of money. They can afford to sign a player for 50, 60, 70 million. And if he's not what they want, or they've made a mistake, they just bin him off and just sell him or keep him on the bench.
Look at Cancelo this year.
When did he sign?
He's gone to Bayern Munich on loan, hasn't he?
But when did he sign for him? It was quite fairly recent, wasn't it?
Yeah, about a year, 2 years ago, yeah.
It's crazy, mate, how quickly they just turn him over. All right, going back to the importance of having good coaching staff. Like, you look at Fergie, mate, when United were their most successful under him, he pretty much would rotate his assistant managers every few years. And he had some of what you would say is...
Well, no, Brian Kidd left to take the Blackburn job.
Yeah.
Steve McLaren left to take the Middlesbrough job. So he didn't refresh. He had to. Carlos Queiroz come in. Then he had to refresh.
Well, they had Mike Phelan for a bit, didn't he?
Mike Phelan. And that was it to the end there.
And I think, but the importance of like those he leaned on those people heavily, didn't they? And I think people raised a few eyebrows when Carlos Queiroz came in. But anyone I've ever heard from like that United squad talks about him so highly in terms of how he like wanted to play football, how he was with the players, how he was the go-between. So for, you can't just be the manager. You've got to have people behind you. And you look at what Kieran McKenna's doing now. And like I saw someone in the comments said, Solskjaer's a fraud as a coach. And like I was just saying, in hindsight, in his first 2 seasons, he was made out to be lucky, but actually he did better than most. He did better than Klopp did in his first couple of seasons. He did better than Lampard, Gerrard, whoever, did better than Arteta did in his first season. So, I mean, is that just because he had such good staff with him? Or is he maybe not getting the credit he deserves? I don't know. I'd have to leave that question open.
Bit of both, mate. Bit of both. It's just kicked off big time here.
Well, I just saw someone in the chat saying Casemiro should have been sent off. But
it was another yellow card, possibly. But,
he's already been booked, haven't he? He was booked in the first half. But, I haven't got it on now, so I don't know what's going on. You'll have to keep me involved. Anyone...
Duncan and Anthony have just gone.
Been sent off?
No, just gone. Got in a little scuffle.
Bookings everywhere. Just very quickly on United, because obviously it's going on now, so it's difficult for a podcast, obviously. But Like, what changes would you make now? Like, for me, I'd probably put, no surprise, but I'd put Sabitzer on, maybe Ericsson.
Why?
Just to control it a bit, mate.
You like his ponytail?
I do. I love him, mate. He looks like a pirate. He looks like a pirate. I got a thing about pirates.
Like a pirate. It does remind me of a pirate.
But no, I just, for a bit of control, I'd bring him or Ericsson on.
No, I would bring Sancho on and take Martial off and put Rashford up front.
Yeah, Rashford's looked the most dangerous going forward.
Right.
I think, certainly what I saw anyway.
Correct. Get Sancho against Caicedo. Caicedo's not a right back.
Yeah, that was a weird decision. I do like De Zerbi, but he makes these left field decisions sometimes, doesn't he? And you're thinking, where's that coming from?
Oh.
But I thought Mitoma's done a bit better today against Wan-Bissaka. But then Wan-Bissaka's made a couple of really good challenges as well in the first half.
You say that, but there's not I'm not a 10th favourite, but not been no end product, though, has there?
No, he hasn't. Rob Boyle says Anthony has to go off. He's a time bomb waiting to lose it. And Dalot looks loose as well. Yeah, I think the problem they've got with Dalot is whenever they bring Malacia off the bench, he looks so nervous and he makes mistakes. But when he starts, he looks good. Now, I don't think they can risk it. So then do you bring Maguire on? Oh, God, no. I've already made my views on that. Like, every single player on the bench should get on.
Tumo's just clearly dived in the box.
Do you know, I thought he dived in the first half, Mitoma, when he was looking for a penalty. He hung his leg out a bit, and they obviously didn't give the penalty, but I thought he should have been booked then. But
you don't just fall over in the box. Your legs just don't give way and fall over.
Yeah. But so his, like with those, you know, where
in fact Rashford's just done it. It's embarrassing.
But don't you think until the refs start booking them for going down so easily, or for diving, or for hanging their leg out and making the contact, like where the striker's making the contact instead of a challenge from a defender or defenders pulling out, until they start booking people for it, they're just going to keep doing it, mate. And it's just, if the ref gives it as well, by the way, VAR will not overturn it. And that's why VAR is so shite this season, because if the ref gives these things, the VAR is just not overturning it.
No, and that's what it's for.
Yeah, it's madness, mate. Someone in the comments just said Brighton starting to shine, incredible team being put together. Would you agree with that, mate? Or is it the first half was just end to end, and I thought just both defenses looked nervous, but attacking wise, I thought they both looked pretty good.
Casemiro's just nearly scored.
Is he?
Yeah, it's a good game. It's not really take just volley, just gone over the bar, but close. But it seemed to be end to end. But looks like United are going to make a change. So see if Eric is listening to me. Oh, he brings Weghorst on.
It's funny, man, because I saw someone saying on social media earlier, they were saying, "Oh, I hope it's not another boring 0-0 like the FA Cup." And I was like, that FA Cup, it was 0-0, but it was not boring. Like it was pretty much, it wasn't quite as open as what I've seen today, but it was like ends to end. It was intense pressing, and I just think
it wasn't a boring 0-0, was it? It was an all right game.
And actually, I thought that it was really fascinating to see De Zerbi playing his style of football and Ten Hag appreciating that it works and trying to come up with a tactical way to stop it. And he did in the semi-final. And I think largely he did in the first half of this game. Now,
yeah, the first half they pressed high, really high, didn't they?
Yeah, but they timed it, didn't they? They let him knock it. They kind of let Brighton get into a point where they were like, you know, in their own box or whatever, and then they would go and try and box them in a tight area. But like, it's interesting, isn't it? Because United have struggled when they've made subs over the last probably 4 or 5 weeks. So can they keep up that can they keep Brighton tactically at arm's length when they make those subs? Is going to be the decider. But interesting game anyway. I really like De Zerbi. Even though I think playing Casido at right back is, I'm not into that at all. But I suppose if they got injuries, maybe they have to.
No, Sabitza's coming. Oh, Sabitzer and they might be both right here.
I wouldn't be surprised to see Sabitzer for Fred, simply because Sabitzer presses quite physically, quite quickly, quite high.
Right, made 2 changes. I don't know who's.
Solly March came on, didn't he, earlier?
I
think.
Also, Sancho's coming on, Sabitzer's coming on. So
yeah, I think.
Yeah,
probably.
Fred. And was it Anthony?
Anthony and Fred.
Anthony. Anthony and Fred. Yeah.
So I saw. I think it might have been Arsenal TV and someone else. They were having a conversation, and they said, "Who's the biggest flop this year?" And a lot of them said Anthony is a flop. I don't view Anthony as a flop.
Whatsoever. I don't. No, I don't. Not one
I
bit.
think there's other players who have been signed by clubs who look way off it compared. I think he's taken
Nunes. Some of the Chelsea lot.
Well, mate, you could take any pick of them, couldn't you?
That's what I'm saying. Modric, he's looking on the bench.
He looked all right. He was the one player actually against Arsenal when he came off the bench who looked pretty decent.
Yeah,
like he was trying.
His pace scares people. He's quick, direct. But he's probably a bit raw, isn't he? Oh, yeah, that's a bit. Oh,
the comments on the BBC like text site, all of them are saying, "How has Anthony stayed on the pitch?" So,
how has Anthony stayed on the pitch?
Well, yeah, before they said he should have been sent off during that.
He's booted McAllister, and then he's gone like chest to chest with Dunk, and then gone aggressively with his chest again. Because he's given me a yellow card, but he could have given 2 yellow cards for that. It wasn't a red card. Yeah.
Interesting. What do you think the final score will be now?
I think it'll stay 0-0. Although Rashford's got a free kick here, 35 yards out.
He had one the other day and didn't shoot, which I was surprised by because he normally doesn't need asking twice.
Well, he shot here right into the fucking keeper's hands.
Leslie says 1-0 to Brighton soon.
Could have threw my cap on it. Who?
Leslie says 1-0 Brighton soon.
Leslie.
Wouldn't surprise me. Like, I just think it's one of them. And like I said, United have struggled when they've made substitutes. We'll do our predictions now, mate, and then we'll chip off. Let me just quickly ask you about the Championship. Who do you think is going to get in the playoff on the final day? It's a mad one, mate. Really
you see that thing with Sparky yesterday?
No.
Oh, you need to look it up after the game. Don't know who the kid was, what he was doing, but he's fucking had a good right. And Sparky's flipped on him.
Was it?
Yeah, proper like after the game.
Oh no, I haven't seen that. I'll have to have a look at that.
Yeah, have a look it up.
What's that in the Blackburn game? Was it?
No, he's Bradford City manager against
Bradford, is it?
Yeah.
I'll have a look. So in the Championship, you've got Blackburn who are playing Millwall. And they're on 60, and Blackburn are on 66th and 9th. Then you've got West Brom on 66 in 8th. They're away to Swansea in 10th. You've got Sunderland in 7th on 66 as well, who are away to
Coventry.
So you basically Luton, Middlesbrough, and Coventry are safe in the playoffs. Yeah, Millwall are on 68 points.
And which one of us said Coventry would get the playoffs?
Me, wasn't it? Probably me. I'm always right, like, in fairness.
Excuse me? Pardon?
I think you did say they were going to get in, mate, to be fair to you. But who do you think is going to get that final space? Because Blackburn obviously playing Millwall, and Blackburn have been in the playoffs all season. So, like...
Where's that? Is it at Millwall or at Blackburn?
I think it's at Blackburn, but I will double check that now. Let's have a look.
There you
It's
go.
it's at Millwall, mate. So I mean that's a big plus, isn't it? But if the three on the out, so if Sunderland, Blackburn, and West Brom all win, they all go to 69 points, which means on goal difference as it sort of stands, unless one of them was to get a really high goals difference, that Sunderland would get it on goal difference. So
Interesting.
it is going to be really interesting.
Sunderland got a home game.
They're all away. So Blackburn are away to Millwall, who currently have 6th. West Brom away to Swansea. Sunderland are away to Preston. Swansea and Preston both can't get to the playoffs.
I fancy Sunderland there.
Yeah, I do as well. They haven't lost in, I think, 6 or 7 games. So to me, there's always a team in there which kind of flies in at the last minute. And I think they're that.
For 3 minutes, Sunderland.
Yeah, I think Sunderland. Right, let's have a look. It's just some good. I just put the football back on. Some good defending by Wan-Bissaka there. What a player he's been this year for United defensively. Yeah, even going forward, mate, I think he's improved so much.
Getting better.
He links up quite well with Sancho as well. Yeah, I think the final of the playoffs. I fancy Luton to do it this year, mate. I got to say, I just think they've
been on a roll.
Luton they got the experience of the last couple of years.
Yeah, I seen Luton. I was watching the Luton game in the week a couple of days ago in Blackburn. Wasn't impressed.
No,
Blackburn got a late equaliser.
And like Blackburn's a funny one. Like they've been up in the play, like up challenging in the playoffs, high up all season. And it's like the story of their last few years. Like Blackburn have missed out on promotion, I think 3 years in a row now, where all season they've been consistent and then they've just faded away at the last minute. And I mean, maybe that gives them a bit of experience and they'll win on the final day. And then, if any of them teams who are outside the playoffs win on that final day and grab a spot on the final day, they all, they've got momentum then, haven't they? Because it's like that final day, excitement, and it feels like a massive thing, doesn't it, to take it to the playoffs. Right, predictions, mate, for next Saturday is 6th of May, 2 days before my 15th wedding anniversary. Manchester City at home to Leeds. I've gone 3-1 to Manchester City. It's big Sam Allardyce in at Leeds, of course.
I'm going to go 2-0 City.
What do you make of Sam Allardyce coming in at Leeds, mate?
Yes, desperate. Very desperate.
Too little, too late?
Yes. Seen his fixtures.
Yeah. I'll ask you about the relegation because I still stand by. I think Everton are going down, but I will talk about it quickly now. Spurs at home to Crystal Palace.
Spurs?
Yeah, home to Crystal Palace. I've gone 3-2 to Spurs, but I mean, you could switch that either way.
2-0. 2-0 Spurs.
2-1.
2-1.
Yeah. Just to reply to Leslie, Rhodri just said the same as you, mate, that Borough were the better team. I didn't say that they were the better team versus Borough. I just said that they've got the experience of the last couple of years to navigate the playoffs. Come on, use these ears now.
Yeah,
context is king. Weghorst is going to get the winner now. I think Weghorst is going to score the winner in the FA Cup final, I do. Probably for Man City. But Bournemouth at home to Chelsea, mate.
2-2.
2-1 Bournemouth, I've gone. Frank's going to lose another game. Wolves versus Villa. 3-1 Villa, sorry, I've gone.
1-0 Villa.
1-0 to the Villa. Liverpool, Brentford at Anfield. 2-2 for me.
2-1
to Brentford.
No, 2-1 to Liverpool.
Newcastle at home to Arsenal, the big game of the weekend. I think I fancy Newcastle. Really? I gone 3-2 Newcastle. I fancy Newcastle. And that's it.
If you can handle the atmosphere, because it is He'll be rocking up there.
Oh yeah. Can Arsenal catch? Can Newcastle catch Arsenal? Let's have a look. I don't think they can.
I don't think so.
How many games left? 4. Yeah, they can. No, they can't. Was it 4-3? No, they can't. I don't think. Oh, they got a game in hand now. 5 games left.
Oh, I tell you what, that Solly Marsh has just fucking nearly scored an absolute beauty. Missed the top corner by inches.
Oof. He's a player, mind he is. What do you bet? So we'll finish off with 2 questions, mate. Leslie says Real Madrid will batter Manchester City, the Masters versus the Pretenders. What do you think of that?
It won't batter. Far from batter. It'd be a very tight game. City aren't going to run away with this. This is Real Madrid. Very experienced. But they have an advantage being at home in the last game. But it's all about the Bernabeu. If you get a positive result there, and it's in their favour.
Yeah, I look at that Madrid squad, mate, and I just think they're the only ones in world football who can contend with what City have got in terms of depth. The one thing I think that Madrid may have over City is I think they've got the youth and legs as well as a bit of guile. But I mean, Man City are not slow, let's say.
No more guile than Kevin De Bruyne,
No. I couldn't believe how fast he is. He's deceptively fast.
Yeah.
I always thought he was quite not slow, but
long strides, isn't it?
Yeah. Right. The bottom of the Premier League, as it stands, the bottom 3 is Southampton on 24, Everton on 29.
Southampton, Leeds, Everton.
Yeah, Everton are done, mate, for me.
Yeah, so Leeds.
Yeah, I think Leeds is desperation.
Almost gone. So it's Leeds, Everton. Everton's time now. They've escaped it so many times. Gone.
They flirted with it too much. And mate, if Forest can stay up, I think Forest will improve a lot next year because they brought so many players in this year. I always felt like it was going to be a bit of a struggle, just because of the amount of players they brought in.
No, I agree.
Right. I think we'll leave it there for this evening. Going to go and watch the rest of the football. I'm also tired, mate. But we'll let you know what day we're going to be on next week. Probably about this time, but we'll see how we go. I just couldn't do tomorrow. So I appreciate you coming on, mate, and fitting me in and stuff like that, because I know you've been coaching and whatnot. Always appreciate it, mate. I'm sure I'll speak to you over the weekend because there's some good UFC on. But until then, mate, you take it easy. Enjoy yourself.
See you in a bit, mate.
Ta-ra now.